got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your hand. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That fella bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports. Thursday, August 13th. Yesterday, obviously, was bullshit. Like, we obviously should have gone 1-1 with those plays. The first 5 under in the Philadelphia game. Who were they playing? St. Louis, right? 1-1 game into the bottom of the 5th. So all you need to do is avoid. You're not going to lose that bet unless 3 runs get scored by a horrendous St. Louis offense in a pitcher-friendly park in that 1/2 of an inning against one of the best pitchers in baseball, Zach Wheeler. And what happens? Oh, yeah, he just happens to give up 4 fucking runs in that bottom half of the inning. So then you lose everything. And if he'd given up 2, I would have been pissed because it would have been a push. That would have been bad enough. No, and then to make matters worse, I'm pretty sure the full game wound up being a push because it was a 7-1 St. Louis win, and I think the total was 8. So the full game under would have been a push. It's such bullshit. And then obviously I was completely wrong about Mariners-Yankees. Neither pitcher did well. Will Warren was horrible. And then Seattle still blew that game. Seattle was winning throughout the first half of that game. They just threw it away, even though their bullpen isn't that bad. The Yankees bullpen is better than theirs. And yeah, the Yankees bullpen won out yesterday. I mean, everything that happened yesterday sucked. I'm fucking pissed. And I don't even know if I'm going to win today. I've one baseball play. And when you look at the board, you'll have no idea what my play is going to be. I mean, it is one that I guess is at least somewhat predictable that it might be a play of mine. But you look at these games and I had all these different thoughts. It looked like there were going to be a bunch of different options today, even though it's a small board. No, there are things that worry me about all of it. So I got one play. It better win. And I will give out a WNBA play as well, which I think is the best situational spot there. And I'm going to talk about preseason NFL as well. I do have a couple of opinions there that I think are stronger than the rest. Let's do it. We have afternoon baseball here because there are a lot of series ending here. So the majority of this is afternoon baseball. Cleveland and Detroit finishing their series. Cleveland won yesterday. They've won 7 of 8 games, I'm pretty sure, against Detroit this year. So they were able to cool off Detroit in the wrong game because we needed Cleveland in the first game. But Cleveland was able to win yesterday. And Cleveland should have the better pitcher here today. And Cleveland's kind of in desperation mode, but things are not over for them. People are acting like they're done. No, neither of these teams are done. Both of these teams need to keep winning. They're in the wild card race. That last wild card spot could be a whole bunch of different teams right now. The Red Sox might even fall out of it because they suck. So Cleveland and Detroit are in the thick of it. They could still win the division as well. Bullpen-wise, Detroit generally is the better bullpen. They used 3 guys yesterday. Cleveland is okay, but they did use their better relievers, Gaddis, their closer, etc. I believe he's their closer, to finish that game off. So Detroit probably does have a bullpen advantage in this game. They're number 14 arranged by WHIP. Cleveland is 20th, although Cleveland is better than that. They both have sub-4 ERAs. Cleveland is horrible offensively. They're 28th. Detroit is the better offense. They're 11th. Detroit is a pretty good home team, but they haven't been good against Cleveland this year, like I said, and they have to go up against Parker Messick in this game, who is probably Cleveland's best pitcher, although Gavin Williams is their best strikeout man. Messick, 2.57 ERA, 1.04 WHIP. That's good stuff here. I might do some things a little bit differently here. If we can, I have to look at the stats page here because I just want to get the better overview of his strikeouts per 9 is right at 9 per 9, which I consider to be good. Like even a little bit below that isn't bad. And then you can see his strikeout walk ratio here above 3, which is kind of the threshold I use. That's all good. He's good on the road as well. 2.24 road ERA. He's been pitching well recently as well. Had a good start against the White Sox last time out. Not really that easy of a task. He doesn't seem to be fading yet. His strikeout number is still high in his recent starts. He's not really walking anybody here. So that's good. So yeah, his hit rate is low. His walk rate is low. Strikeout rate, like I said, is right at 1 per inning. The only thing you got to worry about with him is the innings count because he is young, so he's getting up there in his innings, and it's going to be the most. It's already the most that he's ever thrown, but he doesn't show signs of fading yet, so I'm not worried about him yet. But it could happen fast, that fatigue at the end of the season. So Cleveland has to strike this balance here, you know what I mean? With, oh my God, we have this really young pitcher, but he's one of our better pitchers. We also have to try to make the playoffs, and if we make the playoffs, we want him to be rested well enough. So it's that trade-off there. His numbers against Detroit, 250 average allowed, 736 OPS. So he has the upper hand against them, but it's kind of slight. 20 at-bats, not a huge amount of at-bats, 6-1 strikeout walk ratio. 7 of their hitters have faced him. I'd lean more towards Messick pitching well again here, though, than not. Detroit has Cater Montero on the mound, and you'd think that looking at this does look like it would be more of an under type of game, and I do think that, but it's not going to be anything on my card here. Montero, he's had a pretty good season, although remember he's been kind of back and forth between the bullpen and the starting rotation, but it seems like he's going to be in their starting rotation from here forward probably because he's done a decent job and they traded away 2 of their starters. He was probably one of the reasons why they thought they could do that. 3.38 ERA, 1.01 WHIP. That's pretty good. He's a little bit worse at home though. 3.79 home ERA. Last time out, gave up 5 runs at San Francisco. That's not good, but he wasn't that bad in that start, although his command was a little bit off. His command has been a little bit off in his last couple of starts. Maybe that is a little bit of a concern. And I think he was coming out of the bullpen for a while before that, so he's having a transition back. Does have a low hit rate, low walk rate. Doesn't really strike anybody out, though. So that does mean his strikeout number is not going to be very good here. Yeah, so strikeouts per 9, not very good. Strikeout walk ratio is still good, though, because he doesn't really walk anybody. So I do like that. His numbers against Cleveland are a mix of good and bad. 43 at-bats, 209 average allowed is good. 788 OPS is a bit on the higher side, though. 8-4 strikeout walk ratio. So I'm leaving this game alone. I think I would slightly lean Cleveland in the first 5, and I would still probably lean under. The money doesn't agree with any of it, though. Cleveland is a favorite on the road, so the money's coming in against that. Cleveland at 60% of tickets, 59% of the cash on Detroit. Cleveland's had the upper hand in this season series. Messick, I think, is the better of the 2 pitchers here. I don't really like Cleveland's bullpen enough, which is why I said first 5, but you're probably going to be looking at like minus 130 something for Cleveland in the first 5 because they're like minus 120 in the full game. Don't really know if I really want to do that. I don't think I do. And then the money is indicating against the under, too. 68% of the tickets and 62% of the cash on the under 8. I still think the under makes sense, though. Like, just from an overall perspective, I think both starters are generally good. The bullpens are generally good. So I think the under still might be the best way to look at that game. I'm not going to do it, though. The next game will be my only play. My only play in baseball, I should say. We have to lay a bit for this. This is going to be the Pirates in the first 5, minus the half run against Miami. And I know we're going against a hot Miami team here. Miami's on the verge of a sweep here. They've won 4 in a row. I'm not impressed by them beating the Angels, I'll tell you that. And I know Pittsburgh looks like they're not playing with motivation anymore. Miami kind of still is. Miami's still in the wild card hunt here, and they're really not that far off from Philadelphia. So, yes, you could argue Miami has more motivation here if you really think the Pirates are just done for the season, but I think the Pirates are going to show up, try to avoid getting swept here. I like playing teams that are trying to avoid a sweep. Miami, unfortunately, does not really have a look ahead. They're playing the Reds next, so that's not really a big deal, but I still think Pittsburgh has the better starter here, and they might actually show up for once to try to avoid the sweep here. So I do like that, and you might be getting more towards the bottom of the market here on Pittsburgh, although I know you're having to pay a price for this because the odds makers know Pittsburgh clearly has the better starter here, and that is what I'm going with here. We do need them to be winning at the end of the first 5, but hopefully their offense is good. Hopefully they can break out and get some runs here to allow this to happen. I don't like their bullpen. Pittsburgh, they used 4 guys yesterday. Miami used 3. I'm going to exclude the bullpens. Miami is definitely the better bullpen. They're ranked 5th, although I think they're overrated at 5th, although I'm just arranging this by whip, so it's the numbers. Pittsburgh is 23rd, so yes, we will exclude Pittsburgh's bullpen here. Pittsburgh is the better offense still, although they've been worse recently. They're 5th, and this is a pitcher-friendly park. Miami is 8th. I'm still going to do this, though. I'm going to back the better pitcher with the higher ceiling in Braxton Ashcraft. 4.08 ERA, but he has a 1.16 whip, which is still, I think, pretty good. He is basically the same home and away. His splits aren't really anything significant. He's got a nice strikeout rate here, man. Basically 10 strikeouts per 9. So he does have a bunch of strikeout ability, and I like to see that. That means he's able to just whiff guys at the major league level, and his strikeout walk ratio is also really good this year, 4.5. That's well above that 3 that I consider to kind of be that threshold there. He did give up 4 runs last time, but it was against Milwaukee. They're a good offense. He still had 5 strikeouts, 1 walk there, so I don't think he's done yet, and he's not throwing that many pitches in these outings. They're letting him go around 5 innings in a lot of these starts, so keeping it to the first 5 also makes sense in that respect, where they're kind of limiting his pitches a little bit. But yeah, his hit rate is pretty low. His walk rate is pretty low. His strikeout rate is high. All of that looks good. His numbers are really good against Miami as well, though they only have 14 at-bats, 7 hitters have faced him. They only have 1 hit, a single from Xavier Edwards, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 0.71 average, 259 OPS. Ashcraft has really held this offense down when he has faced them, so I'm going to bank on him here against the converted reliever, Tyler Phillips, who I don't think he's as good as he looks, man. Oh, but he has a better ERA than Ashcraft, 3.47. Yeah, but if you look at the numbers at all, he's not the better of the 2 pitchers. And, of course, he's been coming out of the bullpen a bit this year as well. He's kind of in the rotation because Miami needs to fill the rotation. Although, yeah, he's been decent, but his 1.36 whip is not that good. At home, he is good. I won't deny that. 1.68 home ERA, so you don't really want to fade him at home, although I am doing it here. Because I think there are things about him that are untrustworthy. I mean, he doesn't strike out that many guys. His strikeout walk ratio this year is actually pretty pitiful, below 2, so I don't like that. He's not going that deep into some of these outings. He's been fine as far as his command recently. He's not really allowing that many runs, but he's just not going deep into these games, man. And he's coming off a few games where he faced some weak offenses. Philadelphia, I don't consider to be that good, especially when it was Philadelphia on the road. Then the Mets, even though I know they're hotter recently. And then Anaheim. Yeah, Anaheim's one of the worst offenses in baseball. I'm not impressed really by any of that. Does have a reasonable hit rate here. His walk rate is too high, like I said. It doesn't really strike guys out. Pittsburgh hasn't had success off him. They have 6 hitters who have faced him, 14 at-bats, 214 average, 598 OPS. I know I'm going against the home road splits here. I'm going against his matchup numbers here. I'm just playing the spot here plus the better pitcher. So I think Pittsburgh, extra motivation, trying to avoid the sweep, plus Ashcraft, much higher ceiling. That is what I'm going to back here. I'd agree with an under to some extent in this game as well, based on those matchup numbers that we just looked at. The money seems to be not agreeing with any of it. I'm agreeing with nothing in the market today. Pittsburgh is favored at about -120. They're favored for a reason, though, man. That's the other thing. I'm surprised that the public is not more heavy on Miami because think about it. They're going to look at this and say, oh, I have the pitcher with the better ERA, and Miami has the better record, and they're an underdog at home. So to me, it seems like the public would come in on Miami. So to me, I think this is the odds makers signaling to you, like, hey, we think Pittsburgh should win this game. That's what I think, based on seeing them have them as a favorite, even though they're, again, the team with the lesser record and on the road. So, yeah, that signals something to me, even though we have 52% of the tickets, 66% of the cash on Miami. I'm going to be on Pittsburgh in the first 5 here. The money is backing the over 8 as well, but I would lean under in the first 5. I wouldn't really want to deal with Pittsburgh's bullpen, but first 5 under I think does make some sense as well. But Pittsburgh in the first 5 is going to be my play. You get it at even money, but you have to lay the half run, so they need to be winning by 1 there. Yes, you'll lose the bet if they are not winning at that point. Seattle at the Yankees on ESPN Unlimited. Yankees are on the verge of a sweep here. I first looked at this pitching matchup and I thought this was going to be an under, but then I dug into the matchup and I do not like it. For one reason really is why I don't like the under, and I might actually look more towards a side in this game, but I think the matchup is actually in opposition to the situation here. So you probably know where I'm going with this. Situationally, I think Seattle would be the way to look here because they're trying to avoid the sweep. The Yankees are already, they're going to get into the playoffs. It's just a matter of whether they win the division or they wind up in the number 1 wild card spot. Like, they have a huge lead over the Red Sox now because the Red Sox can't fucking win a game. So the Yankees are obviously making the playoffs. Seattle is in desperation mode here. Like, they're going to have to probably win their division, and they can still do that, but they're going to need to be extra motivated here. So I think Seattle's going to be more motivated. Yankees have already won the series. They won yesterday. Ludicrously high-scoring game, way higher than I thought it would be. That was a loss for us on the under. I'm not happy about it. Yankees don't really have a look ahead, though. They're playing Toronto next. Like, I don't know if they're really going to be looking ahead to. Well, it is a divisional series, though, and Toronto did eliminate the Yankees last year from the playoffs, so maybe the Yankees do kind of consider that series to be bigger, although the Yankees have already played Toronto this year as well, of course, but possibly. So I think Seattle is in the better situation here, but that's kind of where the good things end as far as Seattle. Situation does mean something. Yankees did use 5 relief pitchers yesterday, so Seattle is the more rested bullpen. They used 3 yesterday, so that's also kind of good for them. Yankees are the better bullpen in general. They're number 4 in WHIP, but they're the number 2 ERA. And with the way the Red Sox have been going recently, yeah, the Yankees might be the better bullpen. I still don't think so, but yeah, they're one of the top 2 bullpens. Seattle is ranked 17th, but they're definitely better than that, in my opinion. The Yankees have been moving up again offensively a little while for the last couple games after they've been really bad without Aaron Judge. They're 13th. They're capable of better than that, obviously, and they've been moving back up a little bit. Seattle's been really bad basically all year, 29th. Seattle's offense can't get it right. So, yes, the Yankees obviously have the better offense, especially if they're better at home. So, Yankees do have the edge there. Logan Gilbert is pitching for Seattle, which is where I was thinking this could be another under move here. Gilbert's good, 3.42 ERA, 1 WHIP. He's good on the road, 2.5 road ERA. Opponent batting average a little bit worse on the road, but ERA better on the road. Usually you don't see that from a Seattle pitcher. He's continuing to pitch pretty well. His walk number was high in his last outing against Tampa, but he's still going out there and pitching pretty well. He's thrown a lot of innings, but he's a guy that's used to that at this point, so I don't really care about that. Low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate, all that's good. His Ks per 9 are pretty high. Not as good as last year. They're really high. This year, still pretty good, though. And obviously has a pretty nice strikeout walk ratio as well. However, against the Yankees, he's been really bad. 54 at-bats, 315 average, 883 OPS, 14-6 strikeout walk ratio. I can't back him against the Yankees, man. I mean, his numbers are just not good. He's going up against Max Fried, who is pitching well and has had some injuries this season, so he's going to be a little bit fresher moving into the playoffs, so I don't like that either because I want the Yankees to go down. Fried has been good, though, 2.88 ERA, 0.97 WHIP. He's slightly worse at home, 3.45 home ERA, but his opponent batting average, both home and away, is below 200. He's been really good in his last couple outings. Came back from injury. He missed over a month. He missed 2 months, actually, more than that. And since he's come back, he struggled a little bit in one of the 4 starts, but the other 3 have been good. He's got a low hit rate, pretty low walk rate. Strikeout rate isn't really that high. He's not a huge strikeout guy. But still, strikeouts per 9, not even really that bad in the 8s. And he's got his strikeout walk ratio right around 3. He does have some questions with the walks, but he's generally good, obviously. Against Seattle, 77 at bats, 234 average, 566 OPS. The only problem in here is, again, the strikeout walk ratio, 15-7, but all the rest of these numbers are good. I think I would have to lean to the Yankees in this one. They're very public, though. 88% of tickets, 92% of the cash. They dropped from minus 152 down to minus 130 something, so some money did come in against them, at least initially. Maybe the money is coming back in on them at the lower price. I'm not so sure about that, though, because they do look public. And, the professional money usually is coming in on these teams trying to avoid the sweep, which would be Seattle, especially if you think that the Yankees are overpriced in the market, which they might be, especially with Fried on the mound. I think I would have to play the Yankees, though. I think they have the advantage with the starting pitching, probably still with the bullpen, even though the bullpens are less rested here. Money's also playing the over. The total dropped from 8 to 7.5 pretty quickly, it looks like. I would probably still lean under in this game. I still think you have better pitching than hitting throughout that game, so that's kind of the way that I look at that game. But I think the Yankees might be the better way to play that, but that would be going against the situation. I don't really want to do that. Cincinnati at the White Sox. The White Sox, I believe, blew the first game of the series. They're up 4-0, and then they imploded and lost 5-4. They flipped it around and won 5-0 yesterday. And Luis Castillo, who they got at the trade deadline, had an excellent start. One of his best starts of his career, actually, in that game yesterday. So he was really good. Maybe a good pickup for the White Sox moving into the playoffs, man. A guy that has playoff experience like that might have been a good move for the White Sox, especially because they don't really have an outstanding starting pitching rotation. Coming into this game, one of the White Sox better starters is on the mound today, and I expect them to be motivated because they're still trying to win their division and whatever. Cincinnati is just playing out the stretch, although I'm not going to say they're just going to lie down, You get out there, you still try to win the game, usually. Cincinnati doesn't have a good bullpen. They used 3 guys yesterday. White Sox 2. White Sox have the bullpen edge here pretty clearly. They're number 15, Cincinnati number 25. White Sox have the better offense as well. They're 14th, Cincinnati is 24th. Andrew Abbott is getting the start for Cincinnati. He's a mediocre pitcher, in my opinion. This season has been a little bit less good than some of his prior seasons. 3.92 ERA, 1.39 whip. He's way better on the road, though. 2.89 road ERA. So he's been significantly worse in Great American Ballpark, which is a hitter-friendly ballpark. However, he has a really, really questionable 1.6 strikeout walk ratio this year. That's not good. Like, you look at it, last year, he was way better than that. His walk rate was just way lower last year. So, and his strikeout rate was actually significantly, his strikeout rate I think was higher too, right? Where am I looking? I think his strikeout rate, I guess, was similar. Well, you can see here. His strikeout rate was still higher last year too. So, he's having the worst season that he's had, which is interesting, but whatever. He's been okay over his last few starts, not allowing that many runs, but the strikeout walk ratio is still a huge issue, though. Like, over his last few starts, he actually has more walks than strikeouts. That's not good. You can't do that. Still is kind of hard to hit, doesn't really allow that many hits. Strikeout rate isn't very impressive, like I said, and it's gone down this year. And his walk rate has gone up this year. So he's having some issues here, man. That strikeout walk ratio is really bad, and he's not good against the White Sox. In 31 at-bats, 323 average, 995 OPS. Yeah, that's not good. So mostly negatives for Abbott here, except that he is good on the road. Davis Martin is pitching for the White Sox. He's good at home, so both pitchers are in the better of the home road splits here. He's got a 4.17 ERA, 1.33 whip, getting a little high, man. He's been worse recently. He was good for quite a while this season, but maybe it's the amount of innings. I don't really know, but he's kind of falling off a little bit here. He has not reached the amount of innings that he reached last year, though, but his numbers are kind of just falling in line with what they were last year at this point. He's good at home, though, 2.84 home ERA. Look at his overall numbers. Strikeout walk ratio is okay. Strikeout per 9 is also okay. So, again, a lot of mediocrity here. He only had a 1-inning appearance last time out against Cleveland. I don't really know what that was. Like, if he had an injury and they took him out of the game, I don't know. And his start before that was horrible against the Red Sox. So he's not in good form right now. I would not want to trust him. Most of his recent starts have been bad after he had some really, really good-looking numbers. And then, yeah, he's just fallen apart over the last, month plus. His hit rate is not good at this point, above 1 per inning. He doesn't really walk that many guys. His strikeout rate is just okay. Against the Reds, though, these numbers are actually hard to gauge. They have 5 hitters who have faced him, 19 at-bats. 211 average is pretty low, but they have 2 home runs against him. Blade and Suarez each have a home run, and their OPS is 812, 4-2 strikeout walk ratio. I would play the over in this game. That's the way I would play it. The money seems like it does agree with that. The total's 8.5, 67% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the over. I agree with it. I like that move. That's probably my second strongest opinion on this baseball board, actually, would be the over in this game. I know you have the pitchers in the better of their home road splits, but they've been bad, recently, not good form, and their numbers just overall don't impress me. Too many base runners. I think you could fade really both bullpens here as well. White Sox, in general, probably are the better team here. And that's why they're favored, obviously. But they dropped from minus 139 down to minus 130. They're the team that has motivation as well, like I said. The money is backing them. 68% of the tickets, 88% of the cash on the White Sox. You could make the argument Martin is better than Abbott. Obviously, the White Sox have the better bullpen, as I already said, and they have the better offense. So the argument is there that the White Sox have the edge throughout this game. I still don't really want to do it. Martin... Both pitchers worry me, man. So, I still think the over makes a lot of sense in that one. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for the jewels, sir. I still have no idea what they do. Red Sox, Blue Jays. I'm telling you, man, if the Red Sox don't win this game, they're dead to me. They're already dead to me. You have the fucking Red Sox fans out there. Don't panic, guys. We just won 27 out of 30 games. Don't worry that we've lost 5 games in a row. I'm like, you've lost 5 games in a row to 2 terrible teams, the A's and the Blue Jays. You were favored in every game except one of those games. The Dylan Cease one was the only game the Red Sox were an underdog in. 2 of those games, they were a huge favorite at home against the A's. And the Red Sox elite bullpen has blown multiple of those games, including the last 2 of them and one of the A's ones. The Red Sox had the lead late, or yesterday I think it was tied late, in those 3 games. And the Red Sox bullpen, which is the best in baseball, has blown all those games against 2 terrible offenses at this point. Toronto's is definitely terrible, and the A's offense has a lot of injuries, and they're no good at all right now either. So this is disgusting. Guerrero for the Red Sox out there yesterday, unbelievably bad. He came in and he couldn't get anybody out, and he gave up 5 runs. And he's this tall dude that throws 100 miles an hour, and he couldn't get anybody fucking out. What the fuck is going on? It makes no sense. Now, the Red Sox are in a situation where they have the better starter on the mound here. They still have the better bullpen. They have the better offense. They're looking to avoid a sweep here. They're favored again, and they're a heavier favorite in this game than they have been in any other game in this series. I'm telling you, if they don't win this game, they're done. They're fucking done. I think they're already done. I don't care what they just did over the past month and a half or whatever. You do that, okay, fine. You're not going to play as well as that for the rest of the season. Okay. You should still at least be able to play around 500 ball here instead of losing every single fucking game. So, no. Still, I'm going to lean to the Red Sox in this game. It almost made the cut for me. This was close to being a play for me, but the price I don't think is good, so I'm not going to do it. They should win this game. If they don't, fuck you. I'm done. My Red Sox fandom is over. I'm so fucking sick of this fucking team. I'm sick of it. And of course they traded another one of their top 10 prospects away as a player to be named later for Adley Rutschman. What have they done since he's been here? Oh yeah, just lose every game and he's played so far. He's done absolutely nothing. The offense has been a total disaster. Yeah, okay, great. Cool. You traded 4 of your top 10 prospects away for that guy. And he's only under contract for one more season. Great move. Great fucking move, Breslow. Real fucking good. Fuck you. Red Sox used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. That's also not great. I mean, yeah, okay. And Whitlock is hurt right now, so that's also not good. So they have this Gamboa guy in here right now. I have no idea who the fuck that is, because whoever this last guy is in their bullpen has sucked ass, so they keep changing who it is. And I think they optioned Weissert down to the minors. Bring that guy back up. He wasn't that bad. Nobody that they replace him with has done any better. They need Whitlock back pretty badly right now. This is not good. Not good. Toronto used 4 relief pitchers yesterday as well, including their closer, but they only used it for 5 pitches there. And I didn't even realize Toronto has knuckleballer Matt Waldron in their fucking bullpen. Interesting. I actually think he's not that bad. Red Sox are still the number 1 bullpen, even after these implosions they've been having. Whatever, they are the better bullpen here. Toronto is 16th, although they are pretty good. Red Sox are still somewhere in the middle of the pack offensively after they were good over that hot stretch. They haven't been good recently. They're 15th right now in offense, though. Toronto's 30th. Dead last. So like I said, the Red Sox do have the better bullpen here. They do have the better offense here. And if anybody's going to stop this fucking slide, let's go. My man, Peyton Tolley is on the mound here. 3.2 ERA, 1.1 whip. He's young, but he's not really up that high in his innings count yet. He's got a good strikeout walk ratio here. Had a ton of strikeouts in his last game. His strikeouts per 9, really good. Over 10. Yeah, that's pretty good. Had 14 strikeouts in 6 innings last time. I was saying I wanted him to, I was in the middle of all the hype, man. I was like, let him go for the record, man. Let him go for 20. But at this point, because they can't win a fucking game, I'm glad that they didn't. They're like, nope, let's keep him on a pitch count here. Not let him go over like 90 pitches here. Keep him fresh enough. I actually like that. They're not overworking him, even though he had a shit ton of strikeouts there. He's in good form right now. He's pitching really well right now. Striking a bunch of guys out. Low hit rate. Doesn't really walk many guys. High strikeout rate. Let's go. Win this fucking game, man. He's had 2 starts against Toronto this year, and they really weren't that good. So that is kind of concerning. The first one was quite bad, actually, here in Toronto. It was early in the season. I don't know if we should really take that much away from it. And this current Toronto lineup hasn't done that well against them. In 28 at-bats, 214 average, 726 OPS is a little bit questionable. They have 5 walks against them. That's why. It's 7 strikeouts. Don't walk as many guys, and, you know, I think he's going to be fine if he doesn't walk that many guys. And he's going up against Max Scherzer, so we have like a 20-year age gap here. It's very inappropriate between these 2 starters here. Why is Scherzer still out there? I don't know, but he's actually been better in his last 2 starts. But I'm telling you, man, if the Red Sox can't win this game with this matchup, yeah, it's over. It's completely over. Scherzer has a 7.25 ERA, 1.53 whip. Not good. He's been awful at home, 9.82 home ERA. Last 2 starts were both pretty good, though. One was at home against St. Louis. The other was on the road at Philly, which was not quite as good. But, yeah, he's better. He's been better in those 2 starts than he has been for pretty much the rest of the season. Is that much of an indicator? I don't know. I mean, his hit rate is still high. His walk rate is still too high. His strikeout rate is still not impressive. Overall, strikeout walk ratio, yeah, is bad. It's below 2. It's a small sample size, though. Ks per 9, way down from what he used to do. I mean, you look at what he used to do. He used to strike out 12, 13 per 9. This guy was just shredding, man, when he was on, like, Washington and whatever. Hasn't been that way for quite a while. And he's also not good against the Red Sox, by the way. This current iteration of the Red Sox lineup has 45 at-bats against him, 289 average, 822 OPS, 11-3 strikeout walk ratio, and that's including an 0-for-3 from Sonny Gray in there. Yeah, we could throw that out. So the Red Sox are actually better against him than this makes it look. Yoshida actually really gets to him, so he better be in the fucking lineup here. Looks like some of these lefties do pretty well against Scherzer. I lean to the Red Sox here. The problem is you got to lay like minus 150 something here. So if you're going to play the Red Sox, you got to lay like a -1 run line. Or make your own -1 run line. I don't really want to do it. I don't really trust this offense. I don't trust the way the team's playing right now. The money looks like it might agree with it, even though the public is kind of still coming in on the Red Sox as well. 78% of the tickets, 83% of the cash on the Red Sox. The total's at 8. The money's coming in on the over. You know, I mean, one other way of playing this, I wouldn't really want to take totally out of the equation, though, but I was going to say you could play the Red Sox over their team total here, but you're going to need them to score probably 5 runs, maybe more than that, and that's kind of an ask for an offense that hasn't been good recently, so I don't know, man. Yeah, I still think the better way to play that is to just lay the -1 run line with the Red Sox. And then if they win by any margin, you at least won't lose money on it. Yeah, Zach Wheeler. Dude, I talked about it at the beginning of the show. You can go back and watch it. You think I'm happy about that? That was the one winner. We should have gone 1-1 yesterday. That game should have been a win with that under. That's such fucking bullshit. It is such bullshit. He was cruising into that inning, too, and that's a bad offense. Pitcher-friendly park. Wheeler is a fucking ace, and it's not like he's some young guy that isn't used to throwing this many innings. He's definitely used to it. I don't know what the fuck that was. Wheeler, there's something off about him, man. His last, 4 starts or so, or whatever, he hasn't really been as good. I don't know what's going on. All right, Cubs and Washington. This is the end of this series, I believe. Yeah, so Washington's on the verge of getting swept, and they are a home team. Washington's been giving up a ton of runs in the series. Washington pitching, not good. It looks like Kent in his debut yesterday. By the way, they designated Mikolas for assignment, I'm pretty sure. So they basically cut him and brought up Kent, and it looks like he was awful. Mikolas would have been better. I should have stuck to my guns with my over opinion on yesterday's game. That would have been an easy one. Anyway, the Cubs might overlook Washington here now that they're already on the verge of the sweep here. You know what I say? Home team trying to avoid a sweep, especially when you're getting them as an underdog. There might be something to looking that way. However, when you dig into the matchup numbers here, I don't think it's really going to be that good to look at Washington here. The Cubs play St. Louis next. They might look ahead to that. I mean, that's a divisional series. It'll be on Apple TV. It's going to be a Friday afternoon Wrigley game again tomorrow, so they might look ahead to that. St. Louis is kind of still in the mix there somehow, I think, even though they sold at the trade deadline. The Cubs have the better bullpen here. Cubs only used one guy, Assad, yesterday, so their bullpen is also pretty rested here. Washington's bullpen is not very good. They used 4 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Cubs are number 12 in bullpen. Washington is number 26. Cubs obviously better there. Cubs are number 3 offensively. Washington number 1. So Washington's had the better offense, slightly. Both offenses have been really good, which is another reason why, some overs kind of make sense here. This has been a very over series. This game might not be, though. This is one of the better pitching matchups in the series. Kevin Gausman is pitching for the Cubs. 4.29 ERA, 1.26 whip, most of that with Toronto. He's been good, over his recent years, whatever, but he started kind of not doing so well with Toronto. The change of scenery might actually help him because he's now on a contending team, and he has been a little bit better in his Cubs start so far. He does have a 5.02 road ERA, though, which is not that good, obviously, but he does have a better road opponent batting average, interestingly. His 2 starts with the Cubs, he gave up too many hits against St. Louis, but that was in Chicago, but he did hold them off the board pretty much. And then he had a nice start last time out at the Royals. So he looks like maybe he's kind of coming back into form a little bit here. As far as his overall numbers, I mean, his numbers are still kind of okay here this year. Like strikeout walk ratios in the high 3s this season. That's not bad. Actually, did I make a mistake? That might have been his only start. Let me see. Actually, he's only made one start with the Cubs. My mistake. So only that last start was with the Cubs. I apologize. So the St. Louis start was actually still with Toronto. So his one start with the Cubs was pretty good. And yeah, strikeouts per 9, whatever. I mean, yeah, he's right around 9, which is not bad. Although his last game, he didn't have that many strikeouts, but whatever. That was one game. Numbers against Washington, they only have 3 hitters who have faced him. C.J. Abrams has done some damage. He's 4 for 6, but the rest of this lineup has done nothing against him, and most of them haven't seen him. They have 4 strikeouts, no walks. They do have a 308 average, but I don't think that means much when it's all basically Washington's best hitter doing it. And then 615 OPS. So the OPS is still pretty low. Gausman might match up okay here. Cade Cavalli is pitching for Washington. He's a young guy who's got some talent, 3.57 ERA, 1.3 whip, not really that good, though. He is worse at home, 3.88 home ERA, so that's not quite as good. He's got a decent strikeout-walk ratio here this year, so that's not a bad number there. Strikeouts per 9 look pretty good this year, about 10. So he's got some nice strikeout stuff, so that's what I'm saying. That does tell you he's got some talent here. He's been pitching pretty well over the past, month plus now. He's really not allowing many runs. He's allowed no more than 300 runs in any outing going all the way back into early June. Some of these have not been deep outings, though. His hit rate is actually still, it's mediocre. It's at 1 per inning. His walk rate is just kind of okay, I would say, but his strikeout rate is high, so that helps his ratio there. Gets a lot of strikeouts. Against the Cubs, though, hasn't really been that good. Most of the hitters have faced him, but it's only 14 at-bats, 286 average, 769 OPS, 5-3 strikeout walk ratio. So I do not want to back Washington here. I actually think they have the lesser of the starting pitching matchup here. Even if you do think Cavalli, well, he's younger, he has higher upside than Gausman. Maybe that's true, but I don't know if that's enough here. Plus, the Cubs do have the better bullpen as well. So if you're going to play Washington at all, I think you can only do it in the first 5. I don't think I even want to do that, though. Cubs are at minus 140 here. 81% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the Cubs. Again, they're not in a good situation, though. They might overlook Washington, given that they've already won the series. The price, I think you're paying for it. The Cubs have the better record. They have the more name pitcher on the mound here, so I think you're kind of paying for that. If you're going to try to back the Cubs here, I don't know, man. The money's also coming in the over 8.5. I could see that because, again, you got I don't necessarily love either bullpen, and I could see maybe both starters giving up at least a little something here. So there probably are more indicators towards an over than an under. I think I do lean to the Cubs slightly, though, in this one, even though I don't like the situation at all. But I think the matchup might trump that a little bit. There's no way I'm going to do it, though. That's not a game I'm getting involved in at all. Next up, the primetime game, which is why there are no other games at primetime here. You get this Netflix special isolated here, which is the Field of Dreams game. And I think there are going to be multiple of these with different teams. This is the first one of the season. I think they've done this before. Philadelphia and Minnesota, they're playing in what is it, Dyersville, Iowa, whatever the fuck it is. Somewhere in Iowa, wherever the Field of Dreams field is. The ghosts of players past are going to come out, man, and haunt the game. They're good ghosts, right? Do I remember it correctly? Kevin Costner is going to be there. I have no idea. But that is what this is. They're playing in the cornfields. Minnesota is sort of the semi-home team here because they're closer to the location of this field, obviously. It's a lot closer to Minnesota. Philadelphia's already in this area, though, because they just came off that series against St. Louis, where they didn't do well. So they might be in a bounce-back mode here after fuck Zach Wheeler is all I got to say about that. Philadelphia might be more in bounce-back mode. Just change environments, go focus on this game. Minnesota's not going to overlook this either, though, because this is the big Netflix special, whatever. They get to host it, sort of, and Minnesota is still delusionally trying to make the playoffs here, and they're actually winning games recently, so all right. They just won that series against the Orioles. They're still right there in the mix here. Ridiculous. As a horror, no, they're pleasant ghosts. It's all about nostalgia, and it's a drama and whatever. I don't know. I never liked the movie, by the way. I'm not a fan of it. I like baseball movies. That one is not close to one of my favorites. The way better movie, by the way, with the Twins going here, Little Big League is better. Nobody's going to like me for that one. Little Big League is better than Field of Dreams, man. Field of Dreams is just kind of gay. I'm sorry, it is. I like baseball. I like baseball history. I don't know. I thought that movie was just gay. It's schlock. Little Big League, if you haven't seen it, is a movie, I believe, from the 90s. I remember watching it growing up where a kid winds up being the owner of the Minnesota Twins. And it's a comedy, like a PG comedy. A lot of wild stuff happens in it. Yeah, check that movie out. It's good. I like it. I might have to watch it again for nostalgia, but I don't remember it too well, but I remember liking it. You haven't seen either? You better get on that, man. I've seen most baseball movies, I would say. I can't really think of a common baseball movie that I haven't seen. I think I've seen them all. Major League is still the best, which I rewatched not too long ago. You can't really beat that, though. Wild thing. I watched Rookie of the Year recently, too. Speaking of the Cubs, they're playing today. We just talked about them. We're talking about teams that are involved in movies all over the place here. The Red Sox are... Oh, that's another movie that's not good. Fever Pitch. The Red Sox, Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore movie. Not great. Even though it's a Red Sox movie. I'm not an extra in that one, no. Even though they filmed some of it at Fenway. Not a fan of that one. Anyway, yeah. Rookie of the Year, I enjoyed watching that one again, man. That's the one where the kid breaks his arm and he becomes like a flamethrower because his arm heals in this weird way so he can throw like 100 miles an hour, and he winds up as a pitcher for the Cubs even though he's like 12 years old, whatever. And it's got Gary Busey, who becomes like his father figure in it, even though he's like the... I don't know, like former alcoholic, old pitcher that's still on the team. Yeah. Rookie of the Year. Good movie. All right. Anyway, I'm rambling here, man. At least it's a Thursday and there aren't that many games. So I still have to talk about NFL preseason. This game, Philadelphia and Minnesota, though, we know that these bullpens are not very good. 4 relievers came in from Minnesota yesterday. They're not a good bullpen. They're worse than Philadelphia. Philadelphia used 3. I don't like either bullpen. Philadelphia is 19th. Minnesota is 28th. So, yeah, I would avoid both bullpens here, and they both saw some usage yesterday. Minnesota's been the better offense. They're 12th. Philadelphia is 21st. Looking at the total in this game, it's like right in no man's land, around 8.5. So I don't think there's anything about the stadium that makes it particularly hitter-friendly, or, well, obviously not. But I don't think there's anything that really makes it particularly pitcher-friendly either. It just seems like it's kind of a normal stadium for that. Aaron Nola is getting the start for Philadelphia, not having a good season, not really been able to return from injury, which he has been trying to do that since last year. However, at the end of last year, he started pitching better, and it looks like he's doing that again here, even though his overall numbers are bad. 5.47 ERA, 1.45 whip. He's better on the road, though. 4.76 road ERA, and he's pitching better recently here. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all but 1 start since the beginning of July, and his strikeout walk ratio has been fairly decent over that span, so he's not pitching too poorly right now, even though Philadelphia is losing all of his starts, but some of that isn't his fault. His hit rate is still too high, though, and he's allowed a ton of home runs, so that needs to be fixed. And the home run issue is still an issue. He's still allowing home runs, so that's not good. But his strikeout walk ratio isn't too bad here. His walk rate's not that bad. His strikeout rate is still fairly high. It's above 9 per 9. So his strikeout rate is not really that bad here right now. It's not quite what it once was, but it hasn't totally fallen off. And his strikeout walk ratio, I think, it's like right at 3, so that's not too bad either. So I don't think Nola is quite as bad as maybe we think right now. Against Minnesota, he's been pretty good. 69 at-bats, although 41 of them are Josh Bell, because Bell was in Nola's division for a long time on Washington. Bell has hit for power against him, but he hasn't really done much else. They got 13 strikeouts, 2 walks. Only 7 of their hitters have faced him, but of course, Bell, 41 of the 69 at-bats. But Nola's held him to a 145 average, 488 OPS. Nobody in this lineup's really done much against him, man. So I think Nola actually might pitch well here. He's going up against Taj Bradley from Minnesota, who's having his best season. 3.76 ERA, 1.25 whip is okay. He's been good at home, although this is not Minnesota's home stadium here. 3.12 ERA at home. Don't know how that's going to translate into this semi-home game-ish, if you want to call it that. Bradley, he's striking out a lot of guys here, but he's also walking a lot of guys. That is kind of the issue. That's always really kind of been the issue with him, is the walks. He's got a lot of strikeout ability, so he's got talent here. He's hard to hit. But, yeah, the walks are an issue with him. Strikeout walk ratio, because of the walks, is still not really that good. It's still below 3. That's kind of the problem. You don't want to have a strikeout walk ratio below 3 when your strikeouts per 9 is over 10. That's what he's got going on this year. Yeah, that means you're walking way too many guys, man. But he has the strikeout stuff, so that's good. Against Philly, though, he's been not so good. In 70 at-bats, 23-5 strikeout walk ratio, 286 average, 8. Oh, no, wait, I'm looking at Baltimore, sorry. Philly, against Philly, 300 average. That's not good either. I was like, wait, Gunnar Henderson got traded? What? No. 20 at-bats against Philly, my mistake. 300 batting average, though. 1,064 OPS, 7-2 strikeout walk ratio. So, yeah, Bradley has not been good against Philly. So, when I first looked at this, I was thinking maybe a lean towards Minnesota first 5 or something, or maybe. And the money does agree with Minnesota, by the way. 63% of tickets on Philly, 51% of the cash on Minnesota. Looking at those matchup numbers, I don't agree with that. I think I actually lean Philadelphia here. Even though I think Philadelphia is not as good as their record looks. I don't think Minnesota's as good as their record looks either. So I think we have 2 overrated teams here. I think given the pitching matchup here and given the recent form, Nola is the one that's actually walking fewer people here. You might have to worry about the home run ball, but that is a little bit more fluky. I think I like Philly in this one. Maybe full game, because I think their bullpen is at least better than Minnesota's. First 5 is an option as well, in my opinion. You'll get them right around a pick 'em probably, no matter what you do. Money coming in on the over here as well, over 8.5. I don't know enough about the stadium to really know that much about it, but I mean, just looking at the pitching, I don't have a good opinion on the over versus the under. However, you get 2 kind of bad bullpens here, and one starter with bad matchup numbers. Both starters have some issues, so yeah, probably the over makes more sense than the under, but that's not something I'm going to get involved in at all. Yes. Little big league, you mean? Yeah, I watched Angels in the outfield a lot as a kid. Rookie of the year, not as much, but yeah. Angels in the outfield is a classic. Speaking of which, Texas is playing the Angels. The Angels are on the verge of a sweep here, which is crazy. They're trying to play spoiler here against Texas, who is 1.5 back of Houston in the AL West here. Seattle really fading here, man. But Texas, they got to have motivation here, man. Texas is the better team, and now they're on the verge of getting swept. You got to think Texas is going to show up with motivation here. So I think the motivational angle is definitely on Texas here, and they're the better team. The problem is you got to lay a huge price with Texas, and if you're doing that, you're fading a young, talented pitcher that Anaheim has on the mound here. So I don't think I would want to pay that price for Texas here. And there's another good reason to not do that as well. Anaheim used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Their bullpen is not good. Texas used 4. Texas's bullpen has been a big disappointment this year. They're ranked 18th. They're not very good. Anaheim is 22nd, so they're worse than Texas. Texas is 18th in offense. Anaheim is worse. Anaheim's one of the worst offenses in baseball. They're 27th. They've been really bad since the All-Star break, and they're also really bad at home. So Anaheim does not hit well at home. I looked at this pitching matchup, and I thought this was going to be a first 5 under with deGrom and Ureña, but then I started digging into it, and I don't want to do it, man. Even though on the surface it does look like one of my first 5 unders. Jacob deGrom is pitching for Texas. He's having a good season despite how old he is. 3.87 ERA, 1.13 whip. He's not as good on the road, though. He's been kind of dominant at home in Texas's pitcher-friendly park, but on the road, 4.87 road ERA, so that's not as good. So that worries me. He's also considerably worse at night, by the way, for some reason. This is a night game. deGrom, I mean, he's mostly pitching pretty well, though. He had too many walks. He had a bad outing against Houston, but he's alternating kind of good and bad outings right now, but still, for the most part, he's been mostly good, obviously. His hit rate is still not that high. He doesn't really walk anybody. His strikeout rate is still quite high, especially given how old he is. So you look at his overall numbers, they're going to be good. Yeah, like his strikeout walk ratio is still pretty good. It's still close to 5 here, which is pretty crazy. He had some of his strikeout walk ratios here in some of these seasons. Like, how do you make 15 starts and have a strikeout walk ratio that's 12 or 13? Like, that is so insane. That was back in 2021, 2022 with the Mets. I don't know how that's even possible, but whatever. He still has a strikeout walk ratio close to 5 here, which is really good. And his strikeouts per 9 is still quite high here, around 11. So, yeah, he's good. Still good. Numbers against Anaheim, though, this is where we start having problems. Anaheim, for whatever reason, has done a lot of damage against him. Nito and Frazier and Darno all hit him hard. And Trout has done okay against them as well. He's got 72 at-bats against them, 319 average, 971 OPS, 26-8 strikeout walk ratio. So this is not a good matchup for deGrom. So he's not in his good home road splits, not in his good home night splits, and he's not as good on the road. So that's not good. So I don't want to back deGrom here. Walbert Ureña is a guy that I back sometimes this year for Anaheim. He's got a lot of talent, man. He's just got to stop walking people. That's his thing. He's 22, but he's obviously good. He's got a 2.83 ERA. 1.29 whip is a little bit high. He's been really good at home, though. 2.49 home ERA. Plus, he actually walks fewer people at home as well. And his opponent batting average at home is 183, so that's pretty solid. Overall, though, his strikeout walk ratio is actually really ugly, and it's mostly because his walk rate is way too high. His strikeout rate is actually a little lower than I thought. Not quite at 9 per 9, but I think he's still pretty good. He's got good strikeout stuff. However, his walks have been an issue really throughout the entire season, but recently the walks have been an issue again. That is definitely a concern at the very least, although his innings pitch count probably is not a concern yet, although it might be soon because, again, these young pitchers aren't used to throwing this many innings. He's been basically unhittable, though. He's very hard to hit, doesn't allow many hits, is a good strikeout pitcher, also gets a lot of ground balls, but, again, he's way too wild. That's the problem with him. His walk rate is way too high. However, Texas has really been able to do nothing against him. They have 24 at-bats against him, an 0.83 average. The only extra base hit is a double from Nimmo. Finding Nimmo, your fantasy baseball name of the day. 366 OPS against, an 0.83 opponent batting average against, but a 7-5 strikeout walk ratio. So again, that walk number is not good, but the rest of these numbers are good. Texas has been able to really do nothing against them other than draw walks. So I actually think Anaheim in the first 5 might actually make sense here given the matchup. Although the money's coming in on Texas, you know Texas needs to win, but when it's a need-to-win scenario and everybody knows Texas is the better team and they have a really named pitcher on the mound like deGrom, you know you're not getting any value playing Texas. You can't. I don't think you lay minus 160 with Texas here, man. I mean, I just gave you a bunch of good reasons to not do that, but the money looks like it kind of is. 67% of the tickets, 89% of the cash on Texas. I would lean Anaheim in the first 5 in this one, man, even though I do think Texas is going to be motivated, so I don't really want to do it. Worry a bit about Ureña with all his walks. The money's also backing the over 7.5. And I think I agree with that. deGrom, like you would think, like my first instinct on this was, first 5 under for sure. But if you go full game, the over might make some sense here because the bullpens are not very good. deGrom has bad matchup numbers. Ureña, well, I think he's good. You know, maybe he gets into some walk issues, so there's not a lot of leeway with the 7.5, although I usually don't like going over a low total like that because the odds makers are kind of telling you they think it's going to be a low-scoring game. This one might go over, though. I'm not going to come in and try to play the under there, even in the first 5, although if I was going to play the under, I would only do it in the first 5, of course, which still might be, you know, I wouldn't beat you up if you did try to do that because you do still have 2 good pitchers there, so I wouldn't even really. It's weird, but I kind of lean over full game, and I kind of lean under in the first 5, which usually means I'm not going to be playing the game. Dodgers and Brewers, this is a huge weekend series here. Teams fighting for the top seed in the NL somewhat, if you want to call it that. I think Milwaukee has the better record right now. Milwaukee has not been playing. Yeah, Milwaukee's only 1 game ahead of the Dodgers now. Milwaukee hasn't been playing well recently, and the Dodgers just went on a slide, but they're kind of out of that now as they just swept the Royals. But the Dodgers didn't dominate that series. They won every game by 2 or fewer runs. But the Dodgers have some momentum now. You know, I mean, they're not going to be overconfident after beating the Royals, and they're probably going to show up for a series against Milwaukee. The Dodgers are staying at home. Milwaukee's already in the Pacific time zone. They just got swept in San Diego, and I did tell you San Diego was the more motivated team going into that series because Milwaukee's already going to make the playoffs. However, they do have to worry about the Cubs being right on their ass now. So it's not guaranteed Milwaukee's going to win the NL Central now, although it is guaranteed they'll make the playoffs. I don't want to jinx anything, but I don't think that's going out on a limb there. So Milwaukee doesn't have to travel to the Pacific Coast. They don't have to adjust their biological clock because they already did that. They're probably going to show up coming off kind of an ugly sweep at the hands of San Diego. They're playing the Dodgers. You got to think they're going to show up here. And Milwaukee probably has the better starting pitcher on the mound here as well, even though the Dodgers are the better team overall and they are the favorite. But are they really that much better than Milwaukee? I don't know, man. I think it's kind of close. And given that Milwaukee might have the better starter here, there are definitely some arguments to play Milwaukee in this game. I'll tell you that. And I think I would consider it at the very least. I was going to say Texas, they're already in Anaheim. Because I was like, Texas, they're going to the Pacific Coast too, but they're already out there because they're already in Anaheim. So whatever. We don't have to worry about either Texas or Milwaukee adjusting their biological clocks here. Dodgers don't have a better bullpen than Milwaukee, even though they only used one guy out of the bullpen. It was Landon Knack, who I kind of remember pitching in the Dodgers rotation for a little bit, I think, last year. So he's a long relief guy. So the Dodgers bullpen is very clear right now. They're rested after yesterday. Milwaukee did use 4 guys, including their closer. So Milwaukee, their bullpen's in worse shape than the Dodgers here, even though Milwaukee is the better bullpen. They're ranked 8th. The Dodgers are ranked 11th. But the bullpens are a little bit closer in this matchup just because of the rest there. Dodgers are number 2 offensively. Milwaukee number 9. There's really not much of a gap here between these two teams, I think, in either the bullpen or the offense. Shane Drohan is pitching for Milwaukee. Still, ESPN, they're like, yeah, we don't care. This guy doesn't get a headshot, whatever. You know, he looks like Milwaukee's logo. Maybe that is a picture of him. Does he look like that? Who knows? Drohan has been pretty good. 3.87 ERA, although 1.25 whip is getting a little bit high here. He's been good on the road, 3.13 road ERA. One thing you got to worry with him is he's young, so you got to worry about his innings count, but he's not that high yet. He's got a low hit rate here. Walk rate is okay. Strikeout rate is right at 1 per inning. Wasn't good in his last start against the Twins. Had way too many walks there, but maybe that was a bit of an outlier because he hasn't been that bad otherwise, even though he gave up some runs against the Rockies. He had good command still in that start, so it was a little bit misleading, I would say, in that one. Numbers against L.A., you do have to worry about L.A.'s offense being good, but L.A. has not been able to hit him when they have seen him. They have 14 at-bats against him, 143 average. They do have some power just because Paez has a home run against them. 750 OPS, 6-2 strikeout walk ratio. But I think Drohan actually does have the upper hand here. I mean, the Dodgers only have 2 hits off him and 14 at-bats. So it's not like they've been able to kill him or anything like that. So I think Drohan might match up okay here. Roki Sasaki is pitching for the Dodgers. So you don't have an elite pitcher on the mound for the Dodgers here. 4.54 ERA for him. 1.28 whip is okay. He's a little bit better at home, 4.47 home ERA. His opponent batting average on the road is actually better now. So that's interesting because typically he's been better at home. He's pitching okay recently, though, over the past, really month plus. He only has a couple of bad starts in there. Has a pretty low hit rate here. His walk rate is okay. He allows way too many home runs, though. Actually, the walk rate is a little bit high. Strikeout rate is decent. It's pretty good, actually, above 1 per inning. Sasaki against Milwaukee, he's been okay in 21 at-bats, 238 average allowed, 762 OPS is a little bit high, though. They have a bunch of doubles against him and a 4-3 strikeout walk ratio, so they have reached base against him a decent amount. As far as Sasaki, his strikeout walk ratio is a little bit below 3. It's not too bad, but it's not really what you want to see. Although I think he is figuring out how to pitch better, and his strikeout walk ratio is pretty good, but I would prefer Drohan over Sasaki here, and you're getting Milwaukee as an underdog here, and I think it's a close matchup, so I like Milwaukee in this one, especially in the potential bounce-back spot that they're in here. Drohan, by the way, if you care, he does have exactly 9 strikeouts per 9. That's pretty solid and above that 3 strikeout walk ratio threshold. Yeah, the money seems to agree with Milwaukee here. Dodgers are around minus 150. They went up, actually, initially on the money line, but they have 73% of tickets, 70% of the cash on them. So the Dodgers are public. Oh, the Dodgers are winning again. But yeah, they beat the Royals. Who cares, man? I would rather have Milwaukee here. I think if you take Milwaukee, you get the better starter. You debatably have the better bullpen, even though they use some of their bullpen arms there. But yeah, I like Milwaukee, getting them as an underdog price there. I think the game's closer than what that line is suggesting to you. So I think there might be a little bit of value there. It's not a play or anything for me, though. Money is also coming in on the over in that one, so slightly. Do what you want with that, but that's an 8.5 total in that one. All right. And the money's still disagreeing with my one baseball play, so that's awesome. All right, I'll be right back, and then we'll do WNBA and preseason NFL, which is kind of exciting. Just to talk about football again. I'll be right back. Yep, inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on, the slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. All right, WNBA. I do have one play in the WNBA. I think it's a decent situation here. We have 3 games here. The first one is Atlanta, Connecticut. I think I agree with the market read in all 3 games, but I think the market read is actually the worst in the one that I actually want to play. Connecticut just broke a losing streak with a win over Phoenix. I think Connecticut, even though that was an upset, they might be in a positive situation here because they're staying at home, they're rested, they haven't played for almost a week, and they ended a losing streak with their last game. So I don't think that this break is going to disrupt momentum. I think that last win disrupted their losing momentum, in my opinion, even though it's interesting because they were returning home from a road trip and they still got the job done there. I think Phoenix might have been looking ahead. I forget what their situation was, but Connecticut, they're not going to really overlook anybody here. Atlanta might overlook them because Connecticut is still, I think, the worst team in the league. I think they do have Brittany Griner back for whatever that's worth. Connecticut does. I think she did play for Atlanta at one point as well. Atlanta just beat Toronto pretty easily. They have less rest. They played on Monday, and they do have a big ESPN game coming up next against Indiana, and then they have to go to Vegas and play another ESPN game. So I think it's a look ahead. I think Atlanta could get caught looking past Connecticut here. I'm going to lean to Connecticut. It's not my play, but it seems pretty straightforward here. You're getting a bunch of points with Connecticut at home. The money seems like it strongly agrees with this. You're getting 10.5. The total's not really that high in the 170s. Atlanta is more of a defensive team as well, so that kind of helps if you're going to fade them when they're a huge favorite. It's 50-50 on the tickets, 93% of the cash on Connecticut. I agree with that. I would play Connecticut in that one if I was going to play it. Second game is the first of the Amazon Prime doubleheader, LA at New York. New York's going to be a big favorite here, and this is going to be a high total because, of course, they could score, and LA does not play good defense. New York just took a loss to Indiana again. Indiana seems like they might have their number, man. I don't know. New York lost a 4-game win streak with that. After they blew out Vegas, they struggled against Indiana and lost by double digits in Indiana. Now they're back home for this. They don't really have anything to look ahead to, though, with Connecticut. So I think the only concern here with New York, really, is that they lost a win streak, and that was kind of a big game against Indiana. So the question is, are they going to get back up off the mat after that, or is that going to hang them over because they lost that win streak, whatever? I'm not so sure. I think this is the most difficult game to handicap out of all of these. They did just go to L.A. back on July 28th and beat them in L.A. They actually lost to them in L.A. earlier this year, and I don't think they've played them in New York yet this year. They might still overlook them because LA's not playing well, and LA had Plum earlier in the season, and she's gone now, and she's hurt now, right after Phoenix picked her up, and now she's hurt. That's great. LA just lost to Phoenix, speaking of which, with a game where Plum didn't play, and LA still lost that game. And they were at home, so LA is having to travel across the entire country with only 1 day off, so that's not really that easy to do that. But it's the start of a road trip. I don't think they're going to overlook New York. It's just not really a horrendous spot for New York, really, And the travel spot is kind of worse for L.A., even though traveling east is a lot easier than traveling west, like I say, because you're not going to, you adjust your biological clock in the opposite way, and it's a lot easier to have to play, we're playing a 5 p.m. game our time. That's a lot easier than having to play a game that's going to go till midnight based on what your biological clock is accustomed to. This is the hardest of the games to figure out. In my opinion, the money is backing LA here. New York is an 8.5-point favorite. I don't have a reason to really disagree strongly with that. I mean, really, I think it's just kind of a numbers play. You pretty much know that you're not going to be getting any value by laying the points to the better team here, which is New York. I just don't want to do it. It's not that bad of a spot for them, and the travel spot is actually better for them. 56% of tickets, 53% of the cash on New York. I do agree slightly with the LA side there, but that's the weakest of these 3 games, I think, by far. So that means my play is the last of these. And we're going to zigzag. We're going to take Washington. I like taking Washington as an underdog, man. And I don't like taking them as a favorite. And it pissed me off when they covered against me as a favorite the other day. But all right, fine. If you can't beat them, join them. I'll go back and I'll take Washington in a role where they've been good for me as an underdog. Let's do it. This has a couple of things going for it. This is the late Amazon Prime game. Now, Washington just lost in Vegas, but think about what was going on there. First of all, they had to travel to the Pacific time zone for that, so Washington had to adjust to the time zone. Now that they've done that and they lost that game, they're already adjusted, so I think it's going to be less bad for them this time. That was a big negative for them in that first game, was the travel spot. And yes, they did lose a win streak. That does worry me a little bit that they lost a 7-game win streak here. And I don't like usually taking teams that lose a win streak like that because I think they'll be hung over. But they're not going to overlook Vegas, especially when they just lost to Vegas by 10. So Vegas covered this number. Vegas was really good in the second half of that game. They just pulled away in the second half. Vegas, if you watch my show, I keep pointing out how they're not really that good at home, although now they're 10-5, but they've had some bad performances at home. I think they're actually a better road team than home team. And now Vegas did get that win and break a losing streak, but after beating Washington and now playing them again, I think Washington's going to make the adjustments. That's why the zigzag kind of works, because you fix what went wrong in that previous game if it was something fixable. And the team that won and possibly won easily might just overlook the other team the next time and maybe look ahead. And yeah, that really might be what Vegas is going to do, because look at their next game. It's a national TV game on CBS on Saturday night primetime against Minnesota, the best team in the league, and they just lost at Minnesota. So this is a revenge game they got going on against Minnesota, and people are saying it's the preview of the championship series that's going to happen this year too, because it is probably the 2 best teams in the league. So yeah, you want to talk about a look ahead, I think that might be it. And the next game after that, they're playing Atlanta on ESPN. Also at home, so that's another big TV game, although they did beat Atlanta not that long ago. But I think it's, at the very least, this is a spot where it's a zigzag, so they might overlook Washington here, plus Minnesota's on deck, so that makes it kind of a sandwich spot here. In my opinion, And for the Zigzag, like I say, you got to look what outliers were there in that first game. Like, what happened in this game? Okay, well, Washington was hanging around for a lot of this game. They were in the game. It was tied at halftime, I'm pretty sure. Washington was actually winning, like, right before halftime. Actually, I think they might have been winning by 1 at halftime. Whatever. No, I think it was tied. And then Washington had a 1-point lead right away in the second half. But then, yeah, Vegas started pulling away in the second half, but a lot of it was a very late pull away. Like, Washington was still within 6 points with 2 minutes left. Does that mean that Vegas is going to take them seriously this time? I'm not so sure, because they wound up pulling away and winning by 10. The game was put away with more than a minute left to go, and there were some outliers here. The shooting was a little bit hot for Vegas. I know Vegas is probably the better shooting team anyway than Washington, but the outlier here, I think, you could consider the 3-pointers to be an outlier here. Vegas shot almost 40%, which is a little bit above average, I would say, and Washington was below average, 28%. Although Washington's more of a defensive team, they don't really hit threes that well. But even so, Vegas hit 4 more threes than they did. So there was kind of an outlier there, and the percentage shooting-wise was a bit of an outlier there. So there might be some regression to be had for the Aces there from 3-point range, especially against a good Washington D. And Washington might positively regress a little bit, meaning they might shoot a little bit better from 3 this time because they shot below the average there. And the Aces were plus 12 from 3-point range there in points. So that was more than the difference in the game right there. The other thing of note is that Washington had a ton of turnovers. So Washington lost the turnover battle by double. That's something you can clean up, though. You know what I mean? That's like mistakes. A lot of that is mental, whatever. Maybe some of it had to do with the time zone change. I'm not going to say they're going to win the turnover battle this time. I don't think they will, because usually the home team wins the turnover battle. They don't need to win the turnover battle to cover as an underdog here, though, and as long as it's closer, you know what I mean? I think there is room for that to happen here as well. And one thing that I really like to see here is Washington dominated the rebound battle. I think that's kind of a red flag as far as Vegas is concerned. If you can go in there against A'ja Wilson and dominate the rebound battle. A'ja Wilson, by the way, I didn't realize until I was watching, I think it was ESPN Jeopardy or whatever, and I got the clue right, but I didn't know that this was the case. I guess A'ja Wilson is dating Bam Adebayo. I'm like, okay. They live on opposite sides of the country, right? But all right, whatever. Long distance relationship. I have no idea, man. Anyway, Washington, to dominate the rebound battle like that against a team that has Wilson on the interior, though, they won the rebound battle 41-30. And I don't think we need them to win the rebound battle like that to cover here in this game. But I think that's kind of a hidden sign that Washington played better in this game than what the final score looked. So that's what I think happened. I think Washington was better in that game than the final score looked. They're only 5.5-point underdogs in that game, so we're actually getting an extra point of value here. 6.5. This line actually opened 7.5 this time. I wish we got that number, because that would be the key number. That's not going to happen, but 6.5 are out there, so that's what I would play it at that. I mean, like I said, the line was 5.5 in the prior game, so the line has moved up in this game for no real reason other than the fact that Vegas won the last game by 10. Washington, 86% of the tickets does worry me a little. 87% of the cash. The public is not playing Washington here, okay? So, you know, you got to just figure out what do those percentages really mean. Do you really think the public is playing Washington against the spread in this game, especially after they've played really poorly recently? I don't think they are. So I don't really see that, but I think maybe the real money is agreeing with me on Washington here, because I think we've seen a little bit of a drop. I think it's gone down a little bit from 6.5 to 6 here at some of these shops. So, and Cirque, you know, or am I allowed to say the name? I don't know. The Vegas shops here like this that are more, the Vegas shop that starts with a C and the Vega SP book here, those tend to be more sharp catering. So those you could consider that to be a lean in some cases, you know what I mean? Although a lot of times they just won't have the favorite as heavily priced because they cater to the sharps, so they just don't do that. It's like the square books can jack the price up on the favorite a lot and still get people to bet it. So that's part of the reason why, but it also could be like an actual lean that, oh, maybe there's like a little bit of an opinion there from the professional bettors that are in Vegas that use those books that cater to the sharps, like those two. You know what I mean? And we don't have the WG book on here, do we? I don't think we do, because that would also be another one to look at for like a sharp lean. But let's take Washington plus the points there. But yes, it does look like at those books the favorite price is a little bit lower. Bam Margera. Yeah, that's who I meant, yes. The jackass guy who basically has morphed into his father. All right, NFL preseason. Before I get out of here, I do have some opinions here. Now, the first preseason game that we saw, the Hall of Fame game, was crazy high scoring. And generally, you get lower scoring games in the first week of preseason because the offenses aren't quite ready to go yet. You know what I mean? And the defenses it's easier for the defense to just be ready to go, right? Because the offenses haven't really been able to gain rhythm yet, whatever. So that's why you see a lot of lower scoring game week one in preseason games. But the totals have gone up recently. Like these numbers, I know some of it is just the modern state of the game, but given that we have, just the way that college works now, you have guys that are more ready to go coming out of college now that have more experience coming in here. And then these teams are more likely to just use these guys differently. Now there are 3 preseason games, remember, instead of 4. Because that's what the NFL does now. So there's an extra week of the NFL actual season and one fewer week of preseason now. So these guys that are young guys that might be talented offensive players, they get more in the mix early on, and they might be unleashed in some of these earlier games. And that's what we saw in that Hall of Fame game. Carson Beck and Haynes King both got unleashed in that game. So there were a lot of points scored in that one. So you got to be aware of that. So I would be kind of wary of trying to play some of these unders here. It depends on what the rotations are, right? So I think if you have these young, hot commodities here, in the quarterback mix, I think those games are going to tend to go over more because the coaches are going to be more likely to unleash those guys if they're not starters, just to see what they have in those guys. Whereas if you have a rotation that has quarterbacks that are you already know who they are, they're probably going to be less pushed, you know what I mean? So that might have more of a tendency to go under, if that makes sense. But preseason is very chaotic. I don't love it. First game up is Detroit and Cincinnati, and all these games are being played in the home stadium of the home team here, which is, I think, going to be the case for the rest of preseason. People are going to look at this right away and say Cincinnati is -7 against Detroit. That just looks kind of insane, right? So I think the public is probably going to be like, yeah, I'm going to take Detroit here. Why are they a 7-point underdog? Well, the reason for that is you got to look at who the backups are. You know what I mean? Detroit's got 84% of tickets, 81% of the cash on them. I think I would probably lean towards laying the points with Cincinnati. I don't really want to do that, lay a touchdown with a total of 37.5. That seems pretty dangerous. And as you'll see, I think Cincinnati won't really unleash their quarterback rotation in this game. But the thing is, I don't think Detroit's quarterback rotation in this game is really that good. And you have to weigh the experience factor here. They do have experience. They're going to be using a lot of Josh Dobbs here in this game. He's their number 2 quarterback. Obviously, the starting quarterback's Goff. He's not going to play in this game. Dobbs will play. Dobbs has some NFL experience, though. He's been on multiple NFL teams. He's been a starter in the NFL in a number of games. So, he's going to be fine. He's experienced. And then Detroit might bring Altmaier into the mix, who I believe is a rookie. That they drafted out of Illinois. Yeah, that's right, Illinois. I don't know what they're going to get out of him, but he might get into the mix here as well because they want to see what they have with him. And I think that's a lesser quarterback rotation than what Cincinnati has going, although obviously, Cincinnati, they're there's a reason why they're favored like this, and I think it's because they're going to be using Joe Flacco, and then I guess Josh Johnson, and then I don't know who Sean Clifford is, but basically, Cincinnati has they have one of the most experienced quarterback rooms. Joe Flacco, you know how much experience that guy has? Yeah, he's what is he, 42 years old now? Maybe not quite that old, 41, whatever he is. He played a lot for Cincinnati last year. They picked him up from Cleveland in the middle of the season last year, and Flacco started until Joe Burrow came back. Now, Cincinnati, they might actually play Joe Burrow in this game too, because Cincinnati has kind of changed their coaching outlook. If you remember Zach Taylor or whatever their coach's name is, he kept getting shit because he never played Burrow at all in preseason. And then Cincinnati always lost game 1 in the regular season because it's he wasn't ready to go. So then he was like, okay, well, fuck you. I'm going to play Burrow in the preseason. Then I think last year, I think he might have played Burrow most of preseason. But of course, Burrow always gets hurt. So maybe they don't want to play him in preseason. That's that balance. You know what I mean? Burrow is so injury prone. Do you really want to put him out there? My guess is he's not going to play. But maybe he is, and maybe that's why the line is so high in Cincinnati. That would kind of make sense that maybe Burrow is going to be in there for like one series or something. But that's the thing. If that's all you're going to get out of Burrow, then I think the line might be too high. But that might explain why the line moved from 3.5 to 7. Again, you got to try to figure all this stuff out. But if that's the case, and if Burrow is starting here, then I don't really like Cincinnati that much, because I think it might mean that they're going to be a little bit overvalued with that price. However, the public is all over Detroit here. They want Detroit as the dog. I would not play Detroit. Like, even if you look at like the backups here, I would much rather have Flacco and Johnson than Dobbs, you know what I mean, and Altmaier. And I don't know if Clifford's getting in here at all, but Flacco and Johnson are both very experienced quarterbacks. Johnson has been, I think, on the most teams out of any quarterback in NFL history. He's been on like more than half the teams in the league at this point, probably. They're both old, but they're both extremely experienced. So I think Cincinnati might still be the way to look in that game, but I don't love the game, really, you know. Whatever, and I don't really have much on these totals either. Green Bay and Pittsburgh is on NFL Network. The Aaron Rodgers battle, except Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, and neither is Jordan Love. So Pittsburgh is going to be going with their other quarterbacks here. They got Mason Rudolph listed as their number 2 starter right now. He's an experienced quarterback. He's just not that good, but he's got experience. He's played a lot, so he'll probably be in there. Probably not a bad thing in a preseason game. They got Will Howard, who I think they drafted last year. He's got a little bit of experience because he played a little bit last year, but not much. I think Howard might actually not be that bad of a quarterback, but I have no idea. And then they drafted Drew Aller this year, and supposedly he's looked good in practice. I have no idea. I thought that he sucked when he was at Penn State, but maybe it was because James Franklin made all of his players look way worse. I have no idea. He doesn't impress me, Aller, so I don't know what's going on there, but he does get to play for Pittsburgh now and not go that far away from Penn State where he played college, so I have no idea. Maybe the home, is he from Pennsylvania too? I don't know if he is, but the home crowd might be there for him for some of those reasons there. I don't know if he'll get into the game, but we'll see. But the Pittsburgh quarterback rotation might be better than Green Bay's. Jordan Love won't play in this game, I would imagine, because he's kind of injury prone too. But they're going with Tyrod Taylor, actually, it looks like. So he's very experienced as well. And he can kind of throw a wrench into what the defense wants to do because he's still a dual threat quarterback, even though he's old. So Taylor might be all right out there. And then they got McCord, who's only played a little bit. I think McCord was on Philly for a little while, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right about that? I don't know what he's going to do, but he hasn't really done much. He's been a backup in the league since he's been in the league. And then they drafted drones, I guess, the drone bomb out of Virginia Tech. I don't know what he's going to do. He's got a decent arm, but I have no idea what he's going to be able to do against NFL defenses. Yeah, I mean, I think there's more. I like Pittsburgh's rotation a little bit more as far as the quarterback there, the quarterbacks. The money is coming in on Pittsburgh, and you're getting him as a 2.5-point underdog. I think I would probably lean that way. I got pretty much nothing on these totals, by the way. So, like Detroit and Cincinnati, it seems like it might be a little bit of a lower scoring game. So maybe an under there, even though the money looks like it's kind of on the over, but the public is on the over. But because Detroit and Cincinnati look like they mostly are going with quarterbacks that already have experience, that's kind of what I think about that. Green Bay and Pittsburgh, you could kind of maybe say the same thing. And it looks like the money is actually coming in on the under in that one. And it's on Pittsburgh. 65% of tickets, 85% of the cash on Pittsburgh. Yeah, slight lean for me to Pittsburgh. I think if you want money on any of these games tonight, I would actually play Indianapolis against New England. I think there's a huge gap between the starting quarterback or between the quarterback rotations here. I keep saying quarterback, but New England's quarterback rotation is absolutely terrible. It's ridiculous. It's like they just don't give a shit. They're like, yeah, whatever. Drake May's fine. I'm like, okay. Well, yeah, if Drake May gets hurt, New England is going to have a huge drop-off because their backup quarterbacks are horrendous. Like, I think they have the worst backup quarterback situation in the NFL. Like, it's really bad. This game is in Foxborough, and Drake May is not going to play in this game, I would have to imagine. In Indianapolis, Daniel Jones is coming back. The question with them is does Indianapolis want Daniel Jones to actually play in this game? You know what I mean? Coming back from injury, like, do they want to get him some work, right? Because he needs to come back from that like broken leg or whatever it was last year. I don't know. He's going to be their starter, especially because he was good last year. And they're saying he's ready to go, but they're going to have to at least get him some work in preseason, I would have to imagine. It probably won't be in this game, but even if it is, I think that just helps Indianapolis' case. Look at New England. Without Drake May, they're going to be going with Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito, formerly of the Giants, and I like DeVito. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. He's got a little bit of experience, I guess, but I'm like laughing at this. This is so much of a joke. And then their third quarterback, they're only carrying 3 quarterbacks, and the other one is Baron Morton, who I believe was at Texas Tech, right? He was good at Texas Tech, but he's raw. I think he's a rookie here. They'll probably get him in the mix, but I wouldn't trust that. I would not trust that, man. And Tommy DeVito's he's Tommy Cutlets because he talks about his mama's chicken parm, but she's probably back in New York, man, so I don't know. Tommy DeVito, he's far away from his mom right now, so I don't know. And Indianapolis, look at their quarterback room, though. Even with Daniel Jones not playing, they still got Anthony Richardson here, and I know he never stays healthy, but, of course this won't load. Richardson's got some experience now, and he's got a lot of talent, and he's a dual threat, so he can kind of throw off the defense quite a bit. So he'll be in the mix there. And then they also have Riley Leonard, who played a little bit last year after they drafted him. He actually looked kind of good to me. Like, if you remember what they did, he actually started at the end of last year in actual regular season games, because you remember Indianapolis, Daniel Jones got hurt. Then they used Phillip Rivers. They had the grandpa experiment, and he played like 3 or 4 games. I loved it, and he was actually not bad. Then he decided to pack it in, and Indianapolis decided to try out Riley Leonard at the end of the season. He actually looked decent. So Leonard might not actually be that bad, even though I never was a fan of him in college. Right? I didn't think he was that good. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not that bad. He looked all right for the Colts at the end of the season in actual NFL games. And they also have Easton Stick, one of the best names, who played for the Chargers a bit in NFL games. So you have a way more experience even though these guys are still kind of young. I think Indianapolis's quarterback room here, they just have way more experience, and they're better than New England. So I like Indianapolis in this game. And the public is all over New England. They're the most public side here. 95% of tickets, 92% of the cash. Yet Indianapolis is favored at -3, so you know Drake May is not playing here. The public's going to look at this and be like, oh my God, I'm getting New England as an underdog. They were in the Super Bowl last year. And they forget that Indianapolis was awesome at the beginning of the season last year, by the way, although that was with Daniel Jones, of course. And I don't think he's quite that good. I think they overperformed, but Indianapolis was one of the best teams in the NFL before they completely fell off in the second half and then wound up not making the playoffs. And that's what people remember. Fine, I'll do it. Let me find it. I haven't done it in a while.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
There you go. Only because it's the Colts involved in that with Jim Mora, who I believe is still alive and somewhere. I forget where, though. Well, obviously, if he's alive, he's somewhere. But you know what I mean. I think he's still with some NFL team as like a coach or something. I forget. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, New England's heavily public here. There's a reason why Indianapolis is favored here. The public is going to all be on New England, the team that made the Super Bowl last year, and they're all hyped. Indianapolis completely flamed out, obviously, but a lot of it was because Jones was hurt. Yes, Jones is not playing in this game, but neither is Drake May. Looks way too easy to take New England, though, and I just showed you the quarterback rooms make me laugh, dude, because I think Indianapolis is so much better. Like, as far as their quarterback depth, which is how you want to handicap preseason. And they might have more motivation as well. You know, New England might be flat because the last time they played, they lost the Super Bowl. So do you really think they're going to come out that excited for preseason game 1 against the Indianapolis Colts? Probably not. So I like Indianapolis in that one. I think that's the best play out of any of these if you're really going to get involved in preseason. Arizona and Vegas on ESPN Unlimited. Very interesting. Arizona played in the Hall of Fame game, so they're playing an extra preseason game, I think. So Arizona's already got experience. They already got a game under their belt. And although they lost, they played pretty well. Carson Beck looked pretty good in the game, and he's probably going to get more reps here in this one. So I think that helps Arizona. Like, Vegas is going to come into this game completely cold, right? So, and Arizona's coming in. Carson Beck's already got a game under his belt in preseason. He's probably playing again here, although they're probably going to use Minshew as well. He'll be in the mix. They have Gardner Minshew, but that's fine as well because he's a super experienced quarterback. He's been in the NFL for a long time. And, he has a mustache and wears short denim cutoffs, short shorts. So I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's good. I like the homoeroticism with him as well. One of my favorite quarterbacks, actually, as far as his aura. So he's probably getting in the mix. And then Arizona has some other guy who I forget who the hell he is. But I think their quarterback depth is actually pretty strong. Oh, yeah, Keaton Slovis. I have no idea who the hell that is, but whatever. Arizona, yeah, I think it's a good situation for them because they already played a game. You know what I mean? Even though they're going to have to now adjust to the Pacific time zone, whatever. But they're probably already back in Arizona after the Hall of Fame game. So I don't think that's going to affect them that much. Just going to Vegas from Arizona, that's fine. Who gives a shit? Vegas has not played yet, of course, in the preseason. Vegas is probably going to be using Mendoza here because he's not their starter to start the season. It looks like they have... I don't know if they've announced it, but it looks like Kirk Cousins is their starter because they picked him up. So I think Cousins is not going to play in this game, especially because he's old and really injury prone. Now, I like Cousins, man. I'm a huge fan of him. I know he got in a huge fight with Max Crosby, who seems like Crosby is never able to get away from Las Vegas. He was on the Ravens for a day and then somehow wound up back on Vegas. I don't know what that was. I guess Cousins and Crosby don't like each other, but I have seen Cousins on, a Netflix quarterback show and whatever. Cousins was in the right. I don't care what the argument was. I can tell you already Cousins was definitely in the right. I'm going to defend Cousins. I'm going to defend the family man, Christian father and husband that Cousins is. So that's what I'm going to do. But I think he's the starter for Vegas. I think Vegas is going to use Fernando Mendoza in this game, and we'll get our first look at him, sexy, as the number 1 overall pick here. He's probably going to be the starter before the end of the season because I'd imagine things are not going to go well for Vegas this year. So probably Mendoza will be the starter before the end of the season and probably sooner than later. But I don't think he is yet. So I think he's going to play in this game. And they have Aiden O'Connell, who definitely has a lot of experience at this point. I have no idea who Jacob Clark is. But they have a deep quarterback room at least there. But I think I like Arizona's a little bit better. Plus, Mendoza's coming into this game cold. Vegas is coming into this game cold. One thing that's good about that is Arizona won't know what Vegas is going to do offensively, and Vegas will have film on Arizona because they'll see what Arizona did in the Hall of Fame game. So that will make Arizona's offense a little bit less of a mystery. But I think Arizona having a game under their belt helps them acclimate as well. So I think that might matter more than the game film aspect of it. So I like Arizona in this one, plus the 2.5 or whatever, but the money's coming in against it. And I was wrong about them in the first game. Maybe Arizona still blows. I don't know. Everybody seems to think Arizona's terrible, though, and I think they might be better than people think. And Arizona, of course, their starting quarterback who won't play in this game is Jacoby Brissett, who's been around for forever. And the thing about him is he just doesn't turn the ball over much. So he's just a steady game-managing quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be playing in this game. 64% of the tickets are on Arizona, 67% of the cash on Vegas. Kind of strange. Do you really think the public is playing on Arizona here? I don't see why they would be, other than the fact that maybe they're impressed that Arizona scored 30 in the Hall of Fame game. But you'd think that the hype would all be on Fernando Mendoza, and he's probably playing in this game, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe, I don't know, man. I actually am not sure if Cousins or Mendoza has been announced the starter here. Maybe they just haven't done it yet, and maybe they'll both get into the mix in the preseason. I don't know. Chargers in Houston. Do I really want to go over every NFL preseason game? I don't know. I don't think I did last year. Houston, they got some decent depth here. They got, obviously, C.J. Stroud is their starter. He won't play in this game. They got Davis Mills. Mills has a lot of experience. Mills came into some games last year when Stroud got hurt. So Mills is familiar with the system. He's staying here in the system. He's used to backing up Stroud, so I think that'll help Houston here. Mills knows what he's doing. He's not really that bad. And they also have Graham Mertz, who is, he played for Florida, I think, for a while, and then in Wisconsin. I forget which order those things went in. I don't know how great he is, but I think he's a pretty raw quarterback there. So really, if you're going to look at Houston here, you're really banking a lot on Davis Mills doing a lot there. And yeah, he'll probably get a lot of playing time. The Chargers, of course, Justin Herbert, very injury prone. I think he won't be playing here. They also have experience, so they have Trey Lance as their number 2 quarterback, and he's been in this system for a couple of years now at least. So their quarterback rotation looks not too bad either. And they do have DJ Ukulele as well. I think he sucks. I mean, he's been in the NFL for a little while now, but he sucked in college. I don't think he's good at all. So that does nothing for me, the fact that he's there. I think it's a pretty even matchup, actually, looking at these two quarterback rooms here. I think you have two teams that are actually going to be decent defensively this year as well. Money's coming in on the Chargers. Houston, 60% of tickets on them, 67% of the cash on the Chargers. Houston's at about 1.5 here. I believe these are both playoff teams again last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? I can't remember. So I don't know why the public would be really favoring Houston, because usually they don't like the defense, but the public never likes the Chargers. Like, they don't like Harbaugh ball, you know what I mean? But I do, because I think they tend to win games and they fly under the radar because nobody likes it, because Harbaugh plays this like possession offense, or he wants to, Jim Harbaugh, that is. He wants to maintain possession of the ball for as long as possible to get his defense rested. And it slows down the game, and it means you're going to be involved in a lot of close games, and it means your offense won't look as prolific, and that's what people don't like about it. So we'll see. But, yeah, that game, I don't have a great read on that game. The money's saying the Chargers. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even really have a lean in that one. And then Tennessee and San Francisco, this is crazy. Tennessee is a 6-point road favorite here. Like, what is going on with that? Nobody's going to play Tennessee here. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, San Francisco's at home, and they're a 5.5-point underdog against Tennessee, who's perceived to be one of the worst teams in the league. Which, you know, I'm not saying Tennessee's good. I don't think they are. They should improve a bit. I am still not totally sold on Cam Ward, although I don't think he's playing in this game. Maybe he is, though, because it's an NFL Network game. Tennessee being at -6, maybe Ward is playing in this game, kind of like with the Bengals line. Like, in preseason, usually don't see favorites that are that heavy unless there's something going on there. But Tennessee has a very deep quarterback rotation. They have Mitchell Trubisky in here, and he's got a lot of experience, of course, playing in the NFL and whatever. And they have Will Levis behind him. Will Levis has been in this system for a while as well. Even though he's Mr. Pick 6, he at least has experience. And then they have Hendon Hooker as well. Great name. I forget who he is. I don't know how much he's going to get into this game, but Tennessee's got a lot of experience in their quarterback room. And Cam Ward might be out there, but that's the problem, right? Like I said with Burrow, if the line is like this because Ward is going to play, they still don't want to get him hurt. You know what I mean? So Ward might just be out there for like the first series, and then he'll sit down and they'll bring in the backups. You know what I mean? Which I still like Tennessee in this game. I just don't want to lay 6 points on the road. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why they're favored like that. I would lean to Tennessee because I think the public is going to be like, what the fuck is going on here? And I like Tennessee's quarterback depth in this game here over San Francisco's. And San Francisco, of course, you know, they have all these injury problems because of the electrical substation. Dude, I seriously think there is something to that. San Francisco is the most injured team every single year, and they're right next to that substation. Very, very strange. Now, the 49ers, Brock Purdy, of course, is their starter. He's not going to play. They do have Mac Jones, and he filled in nicely for Purdy when Purdy was hurt last year. Jones actually wasn't that bad, even though I have never really thought he's that good, but he's an experienced quarterback at the very least. Then they have Curtis Rourke, who I believe was in Curt Cignetti's Indiana offense before they got Mendoza. I believe it was Rourke the prior season. So Rourke has some experience in some pretty high-profile college offenses at the very least. He was in college for a long time. This is the new age, man. You got a lot of rookies that are, like, really old. Like, Rourke is probably, like, 24, 25. Because he played with, was it with Cignetti at Ohio, or was it a different coach there? Because I think Cignetti was at JMU, right? I forget. But Rourke spent most of his college career with Ohio. And then he went to Indiana, and he played pretty well. And then they also have Adrian Martinez, who's, I believe, kind of a dual-threat quarterback out of Nebraska, who's been in the NFL for a while. But, yeah, I think Tennessee's quarterback room is better than San Francisco's. I think they have more experience there as far as the backup quarterbacks and who's going to be in this game. So I would lean Tennessee. Public is all over San Francisco, like I said, but it went from like basically a pick 'em price all the way up to Tennessee -6. So I think that means they're actually going to play Cam Ward. Like, even though I don't know, because I have not read any of the news or media on this, but the line can tell you things. You know what I mean? I think the line is that high on both Cincinnati and Tennessee. I think that's telling you the starters are actually going to start, the starting quarterbacks. But again, they're only going to play for probably one drive. You know what I mean? Because you still don't want to get them hurt. So that's what I think. So I think that actually makes them overvalued as far as the number, even though I like both those sides. And I think the public are being stupid and thinking they're getting value on the other side, but I don't really think there's much value in laying those points. So that's what I got to say about all of that. If I was going to play any of those games, I would lay like the 2.5 with Indianapolis. I almost said Indiana. I'm too in. Is Caitlin Clark on the Colts? I don't know. I'm too in WNBA mode, but that's going to do it. My only plays of the day are Pittsburgh Pirates -1.5 run in the first 5. We're going to back Ashcraft again. Just get it. And fade Phillips again. And sometimes it hasn't worked out, but let's get us there, man. They're also trying to avoid the sweep. So the money doesn't agree with it, but I thought I was going to have better opinions on Major League Baseball today, and something just... Everything that I thought I would think about the baseball board today wound up not being what I wound up thinking, digging into the matchup numbers, basically except for the Pittsburgh one, even though that one actually kind of looks like more of an under than anything else. So that does worry me a little bit too, but whatever. And then we're on Washington plus the 6.5 in the WNBA. We'll play that one. We'll take the defense in what I think is a decent spot, the Zigzag, plus a big look ahead for Vegas there. And what we think will be a defensive matchup. We'll take the underdog there that can play some defense. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to this channel here. Very long for Thursday is usually like my easier day, but fucking NFL has to be back. So last year I don't think I went into that much depth with the preseason. So because I don't do it. I don't give out plays in the preseason, but it's NFL, so it's something to talk about. Like, subscribe to the channel here, and you'll get notified when I go live. I will do like a college preview at some point. College football, of course. Then I might do an updated NFL preview now that we know a little bit more information and whatever soon. Hard Knocks, I did watch the first episode of it. That started this week with the Seattle Seahawks. It was reasonably entertaining. It seems like it's not going to be the most boring of the Hard Knocks seasons, so it's not bad. They got some characters there. Derek Hall, I think is his name, the linebacker. He's already causing some problems. Some teammates don't like him, and he's showing up driving a huge monster truck and wearing short shorts during practice, so you could basically see his ass. So, hey, you want to see dudes' asses? There you go, man. Check out Hard Knocks this season. What else? Oh, I'm spoiling it, though. Oh, my God. What else? Yeah, we're on audio as well. Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. Go check that out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to support me that way. And Losercast every Tuesday night. You can check that out. In the New York Giants G-Spot podcast. Got to talk to Ben, man. I don't think we're going to be doing anything with preseason. We got to see, though. I don't know. Their first preseason game, I'm sure, is within the next couple of days. So I think every team is going to play between now and like Sunday. I think all the preseason games are happening for week 1. So that's going to do it for now, though. Peace.
If the dark starts talking, hand me the phone. Let somebody answer, let somebody know. You do not have to lose this round alone. Hold on, not tonight, not now. Hold on, let me pull you out. That bad luck bites hard, but it don't get the crown. Hold on, stay with me now. Hold on, you're still here.